questions than answers?
They have more questions than answers about why, which is what we see in every American community forever marred by a mass shooting. And as we heard, the chief and local investigators and federal investigators are looking into that. What we're hearing so much sort of more of a refrain, I guess, from families of kids who were in there and parishioners who were in there was how quickly everybody really jumped into action. Multiple people saying to us, listen, these are kids who have had these active shooter drills their entire academic career. I mean, we're talking about kindergartners through eighth graders. One kid said, and it was chilling, we've trained for this in school. We had never trained in church before. But regardless, their training translated. And from what we hear, kids immediately, we've heard some of this, dove under pews. Some dove on top of each other. Staff members said they got down immediately. They knew what to do. You saw at the top of the hour me speaking to a woman named Ellie Mertens. She's a youth minister here. She was sitting right next to the stained glass window. She told me where the bullets came through, and she said she was amazed at how quickly all the kids knew what to do. Tragically, she told me it seemed like some of the older adults in the crowd didn't know what to do. Some of the older parishioners who were there, who haven't gone through active shooter training their entire lives, weren't as quick to identify exactly what it was and react. One final note that the chief pointed out this morning, and I just want to reiterate, authorities praising the church here for barring and locking the doors really throughout the entire mass. It wasn't because of the shooting, it was before that. They said that kept the shooter from going into the church. That's why the shooter, Anna, had to fire from outside through the windows, likely saving lives here.
Wow. Catherine, the FBI is saying this is being investigated as a domestic terror and a hate crime incident. But as we just heard from the chief, there is no clear motivation or ideology. We heard no criminal history. So how does that complicate the aftermath in an investigation like this and when trying to prevent these types of attacks?
Well, in terms of the charges, there clearly aren't any charges. There were a deceased shooter. And an investigation is to benefit the families, the parents, but also to give them that answer and also to help us to understand, to prevent the next one, right? That's the goal, to prevent the next one. So whether somebody wants to tag it, we don't have a federal domestic terrorism charge, and Minnesota doesn't have a state domestic terrorism charge. And as you mentioned, the hate crimes situation, the chief said is pretty much hate all over all the paperwork. So I don't think the charges are even relevant, the discussion of it. The Minneapolis Police Department is the investigative agency that's lead. So that's kind of their job, to gather all the facts together. And what we're hoping to gather is, what are the signs that were there? Because there were clearly many. I heard in the language of even the chief that he's so trained in what we started, we pushed out right after Sandy Hook. This pathway to violence is something that we can watch for, and we can see the incidents that when they start to do different things, we want to see those and report that ahead of time. That's what we need the public to do, report it ahead of time.
And I think that's what is so hard to grapple with, because it is a case after case where, in retrospect, when they look into digital footprint, there's evidence that would lead you to believe they may have intended to commit violence.